Is this octopus having a nightmare? In a study that has yet to be peer-reviewed, scientists documented behavior in a captive cephalopod that they say looks very similar to a bad dream. Costello the octopus was napping while stuck to the glass of his tank at the Rockefeller University in New York. He snoozed quietly for half an hour, and then entered a more active sleep stage, his skin cycling through colors and textures used for camouflage, typical behavior for a cephalopod. But soon things became strange. A minute later, Costello scuttled along the glass toward his tank's sandy bottom, curling his arms over his body. Then he spun like a writhing cyclone. Finally, Costello swooped down and clouded half of his tank with ink. As the tank's filtration system cleared the ink, Eric Angel Ramos, a marine scientist, noticed that Costello was grasping a pipe with unusual intensity, looking like he was trying to kill it, he said. This was not a normal octopus behavior, said Dr. Ramos, who is now at the University of Vermont. It's not clear when or if Costello woke up during the episode, Dr. Ramos said. But afterward, Costello returned to normal, eating and later playing with his toys. We were completely dumbfounded, said Marcello O. Magnosco, a biophysicist at Rockefeller. Perhaps Costello was having a nightmare, he and a team of researchers speculated. They shared this idea and other possible explanations in a study uploaded this month to the BioRxiv website. It has yet to be formally reviewed by other scientists. After the incident, Dr. Ramos reviewed the footage of Costello's activity, which was recorded as part of a behavior and cognition study. The lab was also observing another octopus, Abbott. Both were named after the heptapod aliens in the movie Arrival. In total, the team found 3 more shorter instances that appeared similar. To Dr. Magnosco, the behaviors exhibited in Costello's longest spell evoked the acting out of a dream. The curling of arms over his body looked like a defensive posture, he said. In the footage, the animal is seen perhaps trying to make himself look larger, and then he tries an evasive maneuver, inking. When he fails to escape, it seems like Costello seeks to subdue a threat by strangling the pipe, Dr. Magnosco said, adding, "This is the sequence of a fight." But he also acknowledged that this is one isolated instance on an animal that had its own peculiarities. There are other explanations for the behavior, such as a seizure or neurological problems, which could be related to Costello having lost parts of 2 limbs before he was caught. But Dr. Magnosco said he hoped that, by reporting the incident, other scientists would watch out for the behavior, which his group observed by mere chance. Tamar Gutnick, a neurotologist at the University of Naples Federico E in Italy who wasn't part of the study, said that the researchers needed to address questions in peer review, like one about what happened around the same time the next day. Her colleague at the same university, Michael Cuba, a marine behavior biologist, also said they needed to detail Costello's typical sleeping behavior. The study's researchers said that they could account for such queries as they have footage of the octopus's entire life in the lab. Another problem with interpreting this octopus's behavior, Dr. Cuba said, is that Costello was not completely chipper and healthy. The animal had stomach parasites, Dr. Cuba suggested that some of the behaviors, such as the curling of arms, might have resulted from cramps, perhaps because of a problem with Costello's digestive system or from the parasites reaching a part of his nervous system. Similar behaviors occur in captive octopuses, and they're usually related to stress or age, he said. Costello died about 6 weeks after the longest episode. Still, the idea of dreaming in octopuses is compelling, Dr. Gutnick said. The Rockefeller team isn't the first to propose the idea that cephalopods dream as they move through different phases of sleep. Because octopus body patterning is controlled by the brain, researchers have wondered if patterns during sleep could be responses to dreamlike replay of events. In their own research, Dr. Cuba and Dr. Gutnick recently recorded electrical signals from an octopus's brain. That opens the possibility that researchers could snoop on octopus's brain activity during sleep and maybe connect behaviors and body patterning during sleep with shifts of brainwaves to study processes linked to dreaming. But that is not necessarily related to this observation, Dr. Gutnick said, adding, "You have to show that they have dreams before you think about nightmares." Abnormal behavioral episodes associated with sleep and quiescence in Octopus insulris. Possible nightmares in a cephalopod. This paper presents some unusual behaviors observed in one single specimen of O. insulris. While nothing can be concluded rigorously from such data, we share the data and our analysis with the community, in the hope that others will be on the lookout for such rare events. Sleep is a fundamental biological function that is present in all tested vertebrates and most invertebrates. Cephalopods, such as octopuses, are cognitively complex animals that display active and inactive sleep states similar to those of vertebrates. In particular, octopuses have active sleep states during which they display sequences of camouflage patterns and modulation of basal rhythms while remaining relatively unresponsive to outside stimuli. Some scientists have speculated that these states could be analogous to dreaming in mammals, involving episodic recall with a narrative structure. The convergent evolution of sleep in neurologically complex animals is a striking possibility, but its demonstration requires overcoming significant challenges. Towards this end, capturing abnormal sleep-associated episodes and other parasomnias in cephalopods can provide further insight into the biology of their sleep. This study reports abnormal behavioral episodes associated with transitions between activity states and sleep states observed in a male Octopus insulris. The study used continuous video monitoring to characterize the animal's activity patterns and detect rare behavioral episodes. Over the course of a month, 4 brief episodes, duration range 44-290 seconds, were identified during which the octopus abruptly emerged from quiescent or active sleep, detached itself from its sleep position, and engaged in anti-predator and predatory behaviors with no predator present. The longest of these episodes resembled the species' typical response to a predatory attack, suggesting that the animal may have been responding to a negative episodic memory or exhibiting a form of parasomnia. These findings, in conjunction with recent evidence for sleep in octopuses, highlight the complexity of possible sleep-associated behavioral episodes. Investigating sleep in invertebrates is crucial to understanding the evolution of sleep across distantly related species. They're far from us on the tree of life, and their brains are very different, and some scientists say we should take care before we assume that cephalopods sleep like we do. Heidi the octopus is sleeping. Her body is still, 8 arms tucked neatly away, but her skin is restless. She turns from ghostly white to yellow, flashes deep red, then goes mottled green and bumpy like plant life. Her muscles clench and relax, sending a tendril of arm loose. If you haven't seen this video clip yet, from a PBS documentary, Nature, watch it here. From the outside, the cephalopod looks like a person twitching and muttering during a dream, or like a napping dog chasing dream squirrels. If she is dreaming, this is a dramatic moment. David Scheel, an octopus researcher at Alaska Pacific University, said in the documentary. Heidi was living in a tank in his living room when her snooze was captured by the film crew, and he speculates that she is imagining catching and eating a crab. But an octopus is almost nothing like a person. So how much can anyone really say with accuracy about what Heidi was doing? When our 2 branches of the animal family tree diverged, backbones hadn't been invented. Yet octopuses, cuttlefish and squid, on their own evolutionary path developed impressive intelligence. They came up with their own way to build big brains. Much of an octopus's brain is spread throughout its body, especially its arms. It makes sense to be cautious when we guess what's going on in these animals' minds. Looking at a behavior like Heidi's is a bit like going to a crime scene, said Nicola Clayton, a psychologist at the University of Cambridge who studies comparative cognition. You've got some evidence in front of you, but you'd need to know so much more to understand better what's causing the behavior. It's only conjecture to say the octopus is dreaming without more data, she said. Does the sequence of Heidi's color changes match an experience she had while awake? Dreaming in humans mostly happens during rapid eye movement or REM sleep. Could we observe something similar in octopuses? Dr. Clayton points out that a human sleeper might flush red because she's overheated. Alex Schnell, a cephalopod intelligence researcher in Dr. Clayton's lab, said some of her colleagues aren't always careful about interpreting behaviors they've observed. Simpler explanations are more likely than complex ones. Dr. Scheel himself acknowledged that Heidi's nighttime transformations could be nothing more than the twitching of muscles that control her color-changing organs. Daniel Margoliouth, a neurotologist at the University of Chicago, said the video of Heidi is spectacular. Research by Dr. Margoliouth and others has shown that many birds go through sleep stages including REM, like humans and other mammals do, rather than just turning off at night.